think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? You are showing me nothing.
Fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking, firing, near corner. It's caught.
Denver, unbelievable.
And welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco.
Hello and welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for an in-depth exploration of all things football. Each week we dissect the highs and lows of last week's games, offering expert analysis, a term loosely used in our industry, player insight, and memorable moments. I'm the light-skinned lunatic, Jordan Pryor, and with me is the star of the show, the antisocial social worker, Tanner Vinsky. Say hello to the people, Tanner.
Yo, yo, yo.
The rundown of today's podcast will go like this. In our first segment, we'll go over last week's games and highlight a few of the best and the worst ones. And yes, we will take a moment to mourn the death of Tommy DeVito's career. Followed by that, we will look into the current playoff standings and projections for some games next week. Then we will end the show by arguing about who deserves the MVP. Now, this week, there is no Danny Weber or Jay Pride, the sports guy, but we should have a ton of fun nonetheless. With that, it's fourth down and goal to go. Tan the man. Are we going to win today?
Not at all.
That's great. Danny said last week that we were going to butt fumble. So, you know, it all works the same. Let's lose the game, shall we?
Exactly. Let's get this done.
Yeah. And with that, let's dive into the games from last week, starting with Rams Saints. Got any comments for us, Dan?
Well, yeah. So with Rams Saints, I mean, it's one proving that the Saints quarterback room is a mess, right? They're not designed to do much well. But on the opposite side of that is the Rams are starting to finally find their footing after a really down year with a lot of injuries, pretty much their entire roster. They're seeming like they're in a much better position. Matthew Stafford's playing to his potential, and I mean, with that receiving core, they're only going to get a healthier Cup as the season goes on. I mean, they're the team in the NFC you do not want to pull in the wild card.
And Puka Nacua is just having the rookie season of a lifetime. I mean, just going absolutely insane. What is that, 164 yards? That is disgusting.
Well, and it's one of those things, too, where you look at it a lot with some of the best quarterbacks to do it, where you have these receivers that are really good and they go somewhere else and they look terrible. But when they're playing with somebody like a Stafford or a Brady or like Ben in his prime, they elevate they elevate the receivers around them. And then you see those guys walk away and they go somewhere else. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait, these guys aren't that great. So part of it, I'm sure, is Puka's really good, but I think most of it really does come down to Stafford gets the most out of his receivers.
Fair. I mean, he is a total warrior, and I'm looking at it now, and it looks like this is the first time all season that they've had a winning record too.
Yep, good time to do it.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, always play your best football down the stretch. You know that's how you win games. Moving on to too bad Danny's not here, but Bengals Steelers. Man, your boys look good out there.
Well, it was something I've been saying since the beginning of the season, is that Mitch Trubisky shouldn't be on the roster. I mean, he shouldn't be on any roster. He shouldn't be on any roster. I mean, he's a fringe third QB when you're really desperate to put someone in. And, you know, this 3-game skid we had wouldn't have happened if we were starting Mason. And Mason's not anything amazing, but he can actually see the open receivers. I mean, that was the thing I've been yelling at about the Steelers for the last 2 to 3 months, is just Kenny and Mitch just don't take the open guys. They're not willing to push the ball down the field. They're not willing to scan when their first or second receiver isn't open. But Mason was actually looking to his third and fourth options. He was willing to take those balls, and one of the big things was when he had that big sideline throw to George Pickens for the touchdown, the second one of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've had a shot play like that that's connected all season. I mean, we've had the slants that go for 80 something yards before, like George Pickens had at the beginning, but the big shot play hasn't happened until we threw in Mason. Mm-hmm. So it was much better. I don't know about the Steelers' odds to make the playoffs at this point. They have to win out, and they need a couple of help from the AFC South teams in order to get there. But we're definitely going to go 9-8 at least. So keep that record going.
Yeah, you will have your winning record by then.
We'll have the winning record. But I mean, if we make the playoffs, if some of the defense can start getting a little healthier, I think the Steelers are a scary team to pull. Which is a complete opposite of what the Bengals look like. I think the Bengals look like, if you're one of the home teams that are going to have a playoff game this year, you want to pull the Bengals. They don't have a whole lot.
Incredibly human on Sunday. I mean, 3 interceptions and just staring guys down. He should have taken a page from Rudolph's book, because, I mean, he was
when the first or second guy wasn't open, it was over. Yeah.
Yep. And was just making just awful throws.
No, I mean, it was funny. I was at the game, and when we were there, our whole stand started chanting "Enjoy the XFL" to Browning as he was going after every drive. So yeah, there's nothing like watching a division game in person.
Yeah, I'm sure that is.
But yeah, Browning looked terrible. I think the only person who looked good on the Bengals team was T. Higgins. Everybody else looked like they didn't deserve to be out there. So it's a bad fall for the Bengals. They pull the Chiefs, who are going to be hungry, needing a win to stay alive. Mm-hmm. They're probably out of it. But people said they were probably out of it when Burrow went down. So you never know.
Yeah, I mean, hey, anytime that your backup can at least make the season exciting, in my opinion, it's a moral
victory. That's a win. Yeah.
Moving on to Bills Chargers. This game was actually a little bit closer than I thought it would be.
It was. That was the most interesting part about it was, I mean, the Chargers have looked terrible, but the Bills have not looked great this year. And yeah, they've been catching fire, and Josh Allen has been playing to the level he should usually play at, but doesn't. But yeah, I mean, you can't have it be that close against the Chargers. I mean, this roster is just downright terrible.
Yeah, they're and the Bills are too talented of a team. Gabe Davis went crazy though. I saw that he had 4 catches, 139 yards, and a touchdown. But he was really the only out of their receivers that really looked like he came to play. So
the issue with Gabe Davis though is, I mean, I feel like he does that he'll have a really good week, and it looks like, oh my God, Gabe Davis is this amazing talent. He's always getting open. He's getting these huge shot plays, but then he just goes invisible.
Yeah, he disappears for like 3 weeks.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's not. It is not a good formula for the Bills to have. I don't know how sustainable it's going to be. And I mean, that Bills defense is so banged up. Like, they're going to have a hard time stopping anybody when it comes down to the playoffs. I mean, it's going to be tough for them.
For sure. Speaking of tough week for the Texans, losing to the Browns 36-22. I will say, hey, Browns look like they have a little bit of life in them, and it's entertaining the shit out of me, man. Joe Flacco he's doing Joe Flacco things.
Yeah, it was his first ever back-to-back 300-yard games of his career at 40-something years old, or 39 years old or something. 90
years old, and 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, a very Joe Flacco stat line, if we're being completely honest about it.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't get more Joe Flacco than that.
The Texans losing C.J. Stroud was really bad for them. They're going to have a hard time winning any games down the stretch at this point. They had a lot of hope. They probably could have made some noise in the playoffs, but if C.J.'s not coming back, they're going to be tough. And the Browns, it really does just come down to, can they have reliable quarterback play from Joe Flacco? That defense is going to always keep them in games. Mm-hmm. But their run game is looking worse, so they're really going to need to rely on Joe Flacco more than they could have at the beginning of the season. because they're not getting a whole lot of production out of Jerome Ford and company anymore.
15 carries, 25 yards. That is a disgusting average.
Yeah, abysmal.
I mean, thankfully for fantasy purposes, he did get me a touchdown, which I appreciated. But
so that's all you need, right?
Yeah, right. Just points is really all I care about for teams that aren't my team.
Exactly.
And then Jets Washington. Anytime I can watch the commies lose, it's great for me. So 30-28, Jets over Washington. Any comments about it?
I think the Jets are the most entertaining bad team of all time. You don't know what you're going to get with the Jets every week, and I think the Browns play the Jets next week, and it's one of those games where I've been telling people, I'm like, I think the Jets could win that one. Like, I think there is a reality where the Jets upset the Browns. I think it's even in Cleveland too, which is even more disgusting. I don't know. I'd have to look at it, but I think it's somewhere it is in Cleveland, and Cleveland's got a -7.5 for that game right now. But I don't know. The Jets somehow come out with these games where they actually put up a decent offensive production, and Breece Hall is one of my favorite running backs to watch in the NFL right now. Breece Hall is so dynamic. He really needs way more touches than he gets, and I mean, there's enough weapons around Zach Wilson that as long as he just doesn't play like Zach Wilson, if he just plays like a mediocre QB, I think they can get more wins than they need. But it's going to be a tough ask for them.
It is really sad to see, just with especially how good their defense has been for the most part throughout the year. To your point, Breece Hall, and I can't stand Aaron Rodgers, but God, seeing Aaron Rodgers on this team would have been incredible this year.
Oh yeah, they would have been scary.
Definitely the most tantalizing of all the teams right now, just as far as what they could be.
Yeah.
Then Seahawks 20, Titans 17. Seahawks really turned it on in the fourth quarter, getting 2 touchdowns. They looked pretty dead for the first 3 quarters offensively, but they got their shit together towards the end.
The Seahawks are also – I think the Seahawks-Steelers game is going to be really interesting this Sunday, just because they're 2 teams that had pretty bad slumps, and they're starting to get back into the win column, and they're starting to put together a team. The Seahawks don't need the win as much as the Steelers do on Sunday. I mean, if the Steelers lose, they're effectively out. I think the Seahawks still could make the playoffs even if they drop on Sunday. But I don't know. This Seahawks team has some things going for it, but compared to the upper end talent in the NFC, I just don't see them doing much in the playoffs. Like, I think I have a lot more faith in the Rams. I have a lot more faith in the 49ers, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Lions. There's not a lot about the Seahawks that really impress me. I think their corners have regressed a little bit too. They haven't been as exciting as they were last year.
Yeah, I think that it really hurts them that I think that the top probably 4 to 5 NFC teams, like you mentioned, they're just so set in stone. It's just hard for them to find any room up at the top to be any good.
Yeah, and I just don't. And they're going to be playing away, and the Seahawks have a very large home field advantage. Just traveling out west for a lot of teams. Just the way that stadium sounds is crazy. I mean, they have a huge home field advantage. So, I mean, if they were in contention to win the NFC West, you could say, all right, well, maybe these guys could go on a little bit of a run. But I think them having to be road warriors to the whole playoffs, it's going to be a lot to ask.
Fair enough. Colts, Falcons. Falcons whooped that ass, 29-10.
Yeah, it makes the Steelers loss to them a little bit more embarrassing. I think about it. But the Colts, I think the whole AFC South sucks. I mean, there's really not much that any of them do that's impressive. I mean, when we get to the Jags, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But I mean, the Jags are like the 15th ranked offense and like the 25th ranked defense. I think the Colts have a kind of similar spread where I think they're somewhere in the teens on both offense and defense. I think the Texans are in the same boat. I think even the Titans are kind of in that same area too, despite having a worse record. there's just not a whole lot that the Colts do particularly well. They're just an average football team. And, when you're an average football team, you're going to drop games like this going to Atlanta. Even though the Atlanta Falcons suck, it's just if you're not this team that has has this large identity, you can't run the ball better than other people. You can't pass the ball better than other people. You don't have a strong pass rush. You don't have a strong linebacking core. You don't have a good secondary. You don't have amazing special teams. Like if you have none of that, you're going to lose these types of games on a consistent basis. You're not going to just be able to go in there and beat the bad teams like a team that would have a dominant pass rush or a dominant secondary or a dominant passing game. So it's going to be hard for the Colts to really, again, find their playoff spots. And I think the Colts and the Texans just have the advantage of at least they've beat some of the other AFC wildcard teams, so they have those tiebreakers. But it's just a large ask looking at the schedules for both the Colts and the Texans to do better than 9-8. I don't know how they're going to win their last two games, both of those teams. So.
Fair enough. Speaking of mid teams, the Green Bay Packers did win by 3 over Carolina, the 2-13 Carolina Panthers.
Bryce Young looked okay.
Yeah. I mean, and Jordan Love had a decent day as well, but I'm sorry. The 2-13 Panthers, you should beat them by more than 3. Even if you are.
And it also went into overtime, I'm pretty sure.
Did it?
I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty confident that game went into overtime.
I'm not seeing anything for overtime.
Okay, maybe they hit a last-second field goal. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was about to go to overtime. And
oh, yeah, they did with 19 seconds left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, like, by the skin of your teeth, you beat the Panthers. Yeah. Like, it's not a good look for the – and, I mean, to be fair, Green Bay has outperformed their expectations this year. I don't think anybody was really expecting them to be a playoff team.
No.
I'm sure Packers fans did, but they're doing better than they should. Jordan Love, is looking better than he should as well. So I think the Packers have a little bit of a bright future. I don't think this is the year they're really going to make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, good luck against.
It'd be a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping you're the 5 seed and you play the NFC South team if you're the Packers. Yeah. But
I'm with you on the bright future though. If they can just get a little bit of help on that offensive line and get some really truly dynamic wide receivers for Love, I think that they'll be pretty good moving forward. How they draft.
They definitely need a true wide receiver one. I love Dobbs, but Dobbs is not the guy you want.
He's a 2. He is a 2.
Yeah.
And that's okay,
There's nothing wrong with that.
Every team needs a wide receiver 2. Dobbs is just not a wide receiver 1.
No.
Lions 30, Vikings 24. That was also a game that was a lot closer than I thought it would be.
Well, the Vikings were in the position to win, but again, they don't. I mean, their offense is just not enough to pull out those wins for them. Losing Kirk was huge. I mean, again, it's the same exact situation as the Packers. I think if the Vikings sneak into the playoffs, you're hoping you pull the NFC South team, and you're hoping you get some division madness with the Lions, right?
Yeah.
But if you're the 7 seed and you got to go play the 2 seed, you're looking
whether
tough.
That's Eagles or 49ers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's only those 2 options, right?
Well, I mean, it's definitely not going to be Cowboys, so yeah, pain. But I mean, Justin Jefferson did his thing. I do love having him in fantasy. Great pick. And then Mullins with 4 interceptions. I mean, that's rough. There is someone else who had 4 interceptions, but we're not quite to that game just yet.
We'll get there.
Next, we have the Buccaneers winning 30-12 over the Jags.
That's the thing we can get into a little bit when we get into the MVP discussion later on. But I mean, Baker
Mayfield for MVP.
I mean, he's got better stats than Lamar, and he's winning his division. I don't know.
What kind of crazy timeline would that be?
I think I would love it. I mean, I'm not a Baker guy. When Baker was on the Browns, and that was a time where I was going to college in Ohio, I used to always just like whenever people would start talking shit, I'd always just show them the police footage of him getting fucking clotheslined by that cop. But I think Baker looks great. I mean, he's been amazing for the Bucs this year. He's had a couple of, tough Baker games, but
Baker's been a Baker.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's what we were talking about with the Colts and the Texans. The Jags, like I said, I think they're around 15 to 17 in offensive rankings this year, and they're around like 22 to 25 for defensive rankings this year. Yeah. They don't do anything well.
Yeah.
They just don't do anything well. They don't have a great passing, like we can go through the whole spiel again, but they just don't have anything that stands out to you. They're just a mediocre roster from top to bottom, and that type of team again is going to lose these types of games to the Bucs, where the Bucs are catching fire. You have people playing to their fullest potential, and if you're just a mediocre roster, you don't stand a chance. And that's where the Jags are. And again, I could see the whole NFC South, the Jags, the Texans, the Titans, they could all go 9-8, just because there's no guaranteed wins in their schedule. I mean, they just don't look great, and it sucks because I'm glad we didn't do preseason predictions, because I picked the Jags to go to the Super Bowl this year, just because I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to have an MVP season. I thought, okay, this is it. This is where he proves why he went number 1 overall, why he was touted as the next Andrew Luck prospect. I was like, he's going to throw for like 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns. I was like, he's going to be the next best guy in the NFL. Like, he's going to be in that discussion, but he just has not looked like that this year. And we have not seen that improvement. I just want
to make sure that we're talking about Sunshine from Remember the Titans, right? Okay.
Hey, I'm not on that boat anymore, but before the season started, I was like, dude, Trevor Lawrence is going to be crazy. And I was wrong. Hyped up the wrong guy. Got the division right, but wrong guy.
There you go. Chicago beating Arizona by 11. That actually surprised me. I mean, Kyler Murray did play better this week than he did last week. You can tell that he's still coming back from injury. He's not going to be 100%. It also doesn't help that, they don't have really anybody particularly good for him to throw to.
Nope.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the instance that unless your running back is CMC, your running back should not be regularly your number 1 wide receiver.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, ugly game, ugly score. Go Bears.
Hey, the Bears. I saw a scenario where the Bears can still make the playoffs, so, it could happen.
I would cheer my ass off for Chicago if they made the playoffs. Them and the Bucs, bro. I will cheer for both of them with my whole heart.
So we'll see. They're going to get eliminated this week, but it would be electric if the Bears make the playoffs somehow.
That would be so much fun. Cowboys, Dolphins. Oof, this one hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I'll let you go on this one.
Thanks. Yeah. Man, it's just so frustrating because this is now the 3rd week in a row, I want to say, that we've just been absolutely torched in the running game. And it's no different from last year. And I'm just so sick of it. And whenever we initially drafted Micah Parsons, the whole point was for him to play linebacker, but then occasionally, rush on the edge to get some additional pressure. And once they realized how good he was at that, they're like, okay, we're just going to make him a full-time DN. That needs to stop. He needs to go back to linebacker. We need, especially with Leighton Vander Esch out, and no DeMarvion Overshown for the entire season, who was supposed to help with that and didn't. Mozzie Smith hasn't lived up to the expectations of being a first-round pick, to try and shore up the middle. It's time to move him, because we will not win a playoff game if people can run for 200 yards on us on it with any given running back. It doesn't really matter who it is. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's the Cowboys, again, we're looking dominant, but people figured out, hey, there's not a run defense here. So if you just run up the gut and you just do it and you control the ball, the time of possession. Again, it's defense by time of possession. Just don't give Dak the ball. Don't give them a chance to score, and just run down their throats, and they're screwed. There's not a whole lot you can do about that.
And I knew as soon as once we scored, and I saw, if you give any competent NFL quarterback 4 minutes for a last drive, they're gonna at least get a field goal, and that's all.
And again, And they were able just to run the ball because they had 4 minutes. They had that time of possession, and they were able to.
Also, why we were playing 12 yards back from Tyreek Hill, I don't understand, especially on that last drive. You got to have somebody thick to press him, and then whenever he runs past him, have the safety help. But you can't just – he would catch it with, 4 yards of space in front of him, and then he's arguably the fastest man in the NFL. You just can't do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about the disaster of my Dallas Cowboys anymore. We'll talk about a different disaster in Patriots Broncos. Woohoo! This was probably my favorite game of the week.
So, again, it's a shame that Danny isn't here this week because this was one of the things I was talking to him about. Is he was like, no, the Broncos look really good. They're probably going to make the playoffs about 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, no, the Broncos winning formula is so unsustainable. Like, they're not good. Again, it's the same situation as those AFC South teams. They're not good in any respective area. And Russell Wilson is not like this clutch quarterback. He's just been getting really lucky in the drives he's getting with Cortland Sutton making these amazing plays. And so we're here and we're looking at it now, and it's like, okay, the Broncos are effectively eliminated, and they're especially now eliminated because they're benching Russ for Jarrett Stidham for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, which I wanted to get into that a little bit. You're basically throwing in the towel at that point because they're going to lose these last 2 games. I know that Russ isn't the Russ that he was in Seattle, especially whenever he was younger and he was more mobile, but he's still definitely your better option.
He's better than Jarrett Stidham. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even know Stidham was still in the league. I thought he was out.
Yeah, I thought he was backing up in the XFL or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a shame to see just how badly the hopes and dreams of the Denver Broncos have died. It was bad enough last season, but they seemed like they were kind of getting it together, like Danny said at one point, and then but yeah, it's just hasn't been a good go. I feel bad for them.
Well, and honestly, a lot of people are really up in arms about the Broncos benching their players or benching Russ for the last 2 weeks and saying that it's openly tanking and they're trying to get a better draft pick. But that's not what's going on. What's going on is
it's with his contract, isn't it?
Yeah, they want to cut him next year. They want to cut, or they want to trade him. And if he plays the next 2 weeks and he gets injured,
he gets his guaranteed money.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a smart move by the Broncos. Russ isn't taking you anywhere. You want to get that monkey off your back as soon as you can. Next year's the time to do it. And at least they were smart enough to give them an out, unlike the Browns were. So.
Yeah. And there should be some if they plan on going the draft route for a quarterback, there should be some good quarterbacks for them to pick up, in the mid first, because that's probably about where they'll be picking.
Yeah, they can get that Washington dude, the Michael Penix or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's about where he's supposed to go.
Raiders Chiefs. Oh man, the downfall of the great Chiefs nation.
Well, again. Before they benched Russ, there was a situation where the Week 18 Raiders-Broncos game could have been for the division. Things could have gone right with the Chiefs losing and the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders winning, that they could have had a Week 18 divisional matchup to win the division, which is insane to think about.
Well, It's funny to watch the downfall of the Chiefs at this point now, just because, and I know that I didn't talk about it with y'all at the beginning of the season, but this is something that I talked about with my friends and my dad and stuff, just about not bringing back Tyreek Hill was a major mistake, as we've seen. And, even as great as Mahomes is, Kelsey is getting up there in age. He's on a natural decline. I'm not saying that he's still not Travis Kelsey. He's still great and all, but he's not who Travis Kelsey was 3, 4, 5 years ago. And
not at all.
And whenever you don't have a very good running game on top of your receivers all suck, you can be the greatest quarterback ever. It doesn't really matter. It is a 22-man game, and one guy is not going to win it all for you if you don't set him up for success. And they've also got issues with their offensive line. He got sacked 4 or 5 times yesterday, and got popped several times other than that too. Like it wasn't just like the 4 sacks.
Max, yeah. I mean, Max Crosby had like 10 pressures or something
Oh
crazy. Like he was in the backfield the entire game.
Yeah, just they just haven't invested the way that they should in their, franchise quarterback. Yeah, they gave him a lot of money, but you also have to give him weapons. You also got to give him protection, and they haven't done that. And the Chiefs' defense has honestly been pretty solid this season.
And that's why I don't necessarily disagree with their decision to let Tyreek go, because they wanted the extra money to build a really solid defense around him, which we've seen when you have a franchise quarterback. If you just give them a really good defense, they're probably going to win. I mean, Tom Brady didn't have to play lights out every year, but he doesn't have any weapons. And that's the issue is they didn't do enough to at least bring in some wide receiver talent. Yeah. I mean, they've lost 2 games alone because of Kadarius Toney.
One of them being against the Eagles. I don't know the other one, but
the very first week with the Lions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's Kadarius, like they just don't have receivers, and I mean, yeah, they'll probably make the playoffs, and maybe they'll shock people and go a little bit further than where they're not supposed to, where they're not favored. But they really need to draft a good weapon in the first round. And I think if you're the Chiefs, you trade up for somebody. I mean, you're not going to get Marvin Harrison Jr., but you get the second, third option mid of the first round. Like, you got to make a move, because if not, like, Mahomes is going to get sick of it eventually and just say, screw it, I'm going to leave.
Someone that they could probably get with their pick would be Xavier Worthy.
That's true. Yeah.
And he could very, very well fit into that Tyreek Hill mold. So, let's see. What does that leave us with? Giants, Eagles. No one's surprised with that. 33-25 Eagles. Poor DeVito.
Yeah,
DeVito's
it's over.
Done. Yeah. His Linsanity run was cut short.
I mean, it wasn't that impressive of an insanity run to begin with.
But it was fun.
It was fun. But
it was fun.
It wasn't as fun as Linsanity.
No, Linsanity was crazy.
Tommy DeVito will be fine. He's going to get a bunch of sponsorships and ad revenue. He's going to get ad revenue in local New York markets for the rest of his life. He went out there, played some football for a little bit, and he'll get a bag doing Capicola advertisements and be chilling.
He'll write a self-help book, motivate the youngsters and call it a day.
Yeah.
And then last on our docket, Ravens 33, 49ers 19. Brock Purdy comes down.
Yeah.
And to your point that you said 2 weeks ago, Lamar is probably now cemented himself as the MVP. We'll get into that more later, obviously, but Ravens look like the team to beat.
No, they absolutely do. I mean, and I think a lot of it just comes from the way they game plan on defense. I mean, Brock Purdy, he loves those kind of open middle of the field routes, and that's what he looks for. And they just constantly were blocking that out from him. And they essentially told Shanahan, they were like, hey, if you want to win this game, Brock Purdy's got to throw the ball downfield. And that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. And 4 interceptions later, we realized that Brock Purdy is not him.
Yeah.
As Cam Newton said, he is a game manager.
And the thing is that's all you need sometimes. I mean,
truly.
And I think Brock Purdy gets a lot of it's the modern kind of like media outlets where it's just like everybody either is a fraud or everybody just sucks, and there's no like genuine good teams or anything like that. And again, I think Brock Purdy is a QB you would take over honestly the majority of the starters that are starting this year, especially with most of them being backups. Mm-hmm. So him throwing 4 picks, it sucks, but we always knew he wasn't on the caliber of the Lamars, the Patrick Mahomes, the Jalen Hurts, the Dak Prescotts. Like, we knew he wasn't in that tier. So
Deebo Samuels thinks so, but I mean, I get it though. That's his guy. He's got to stick up for his guy, and
exactly.
And I will never knock somebody for having a bad game. Everybody has a bad game. He has played pretty damn well.
And the thing is that Baltimore defense is arguably the best unit in the league.
They are disgusting.
So him throwing 4 picks, I don't think it's burn the house down, get panic. 49ers are probably going to be fine, but it definitely makes the Ravens a lot scarier.
Yeah. Brock is still the guy in San Fran, but yeah, to your point, the Ravens are frightening. I think that they're going to win it all, at least at this point, but we shall see. Well,
yeah,
cool.
Hopefully not, but
that takes us to the end of segment 1. We will be right back after this message. Thank you all for tuning in.
Are you looking for a podcast to advertise your business? Well, you're in luck. Here at the Fourth Down Fiasco, we're looking for show sponsors. Whether you want to be a platinum sponsor and be mentioned at the beginning and end of every episode, or you just want a simple 30 or 60-second ad, we got you covered. If you're interested in having a spot on our show, you can reach us at fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. That's fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. We are excited to hear from you and even more excited to have you on the show. Join the Fiasco family now.
All right, and welcome back, everybody. It is me, Jordan Pryor, along with my guy, Tanner Vinsky. We are going to be previewing some games for Week 17 here, as well as looking at the overall playoff picture. So, Thursday night's game, which if you're listening to this, it will be tonight, Jets-Browns. The exact same franchise, just 2 different colors. This is going to be fun. It's going to be ugly. I'm thinking that there's going to at least be 2 more Flacco interceptions on this. I think that Cleveland will eke it out, though, and win by like 3 or something like that, personally. What about you?
I'm actually going to go the opposite. I'm gonna be a little
spicy, cheeky
with it. I think it's about time for the Browns to drop a game. They haven't dropped a game in a while here, and I think it's going to be a tough ask for Flacco to get over that Jets defense. And I think as long as Zach Wilson mitigates being a borderline non-backup QB, I think the Jets will be fine. I think as long as Garrett Wilson can hit the ball out, and I think if they can run the ball with Breece Hall, I think they can control the time of possession. The Browns run offense has not been good at all these last few weeks. So they're really going to have to rely on Joe Flacco. And I think it's going to be a tough ask for Joe Flacco to beat this Jets defense.
I will say, though, Zach Wilson playing any type of competent football against that Browns D line might be a little rough.
It's definitely more of an ask to have Zach Wilson play more competently than Joe Flacco. But I think this is one that's going to be a little bit of an upset.
It's going to be an ugly game, like a 1916 type of game.
Oh, it's going to be awful football, but Thursday night, so what else?
But it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, we have only one game on Saturday this upcoming week. Lions, Cowboys. I mean, it's going to be home in Dallas, so I do like the odds there. I don't think that the Cowboys are going to drop another game, hopefully, fingers crossed, but also the Lions are a damn good football team, and they have a coach that they believe in, and so I just feel like back-to-back weeks I've called the Cowboys winning, and they've lost, so just for karma purposes, Cowboys are going to lose by 7.
You know what? We're actually going to disagree again. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. Because
I'm only doing it for karma purposes.
I know. But the Cowboys have not lost a home game yet this year. I think there's some truth to that. So I think they're going to upset the Lions.
Fair enough.
Well, actually, the odds are -6 Dallas. So.
Wow, that is a generous line. I figured at least be a little closer.
Like 3 or something.
Yeah. Dolphins, Ravens. Oof. That'll be a good game, but I'm going to give it to the Ravens, especially since it'll be in Baltimore.
Yeah, I think it's a good lock for the Ravens to win. Mm-hmm. Obviously, as much as I don't want to see it, but it actually might be good because maybe then they'll rest their starters against Pittsburgh in Week 18. So we'll see.
See, now you're working for that karma. Bills, exactly. Pats. I'm gonna go with the Bills on this one, even though they're the Bills and they've had such an up and down season. It's the Pats. The Pats are just bad and have been bad for the past 2 seasons.
Oh, I think the Bills absolutely should stomp the Pats.
Should.
But I think Bill Belichick is so petty that I think he's going to have a defensive masterclass here. And I think
that would be beautiful.
I don't know. There's just something that speaks to me. If I was to bet, I would still bet on the Bills to win, but there's just something in my heart that tells me that the Patriots are gonna win this one.
I'm calling Josh Allen 2 interceptions this game. Win or lose, he's throwing 2 picks. Falcons, Bears, battle of the mid over here.
Yeah, it's in Chicago, so I think it's probably just safe to take Chicago.
Yeah. Both are awful teams, but it'll be one of those ugly fun games.
Yeah.
Raiders, Colts. I'm going with the Raiders on this one.
I'm going to say the same. I think the Raiders have sparked life. I think they have something to compete for, and I think they see that they can actually potentially have a division or make a playoff berth. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to play a lot harder than the Colts would. I mean, the Colts looked awful last week.
Yeah.
And I think the Raiders...
They look like a team on the decline for sure.
Yeah, and the Raiders, I mean, they haven't looked great this year either, but I mean, they're 7-8 now, and that defense is actually pretty damn good. So I think they're going to give Minshew a hard time.
For sure. Panthers, Jags, battle of the cats. I will have to give it to the Jags, especially since it's in Jacksonville and the Panthers are just that bad.
I think it's going to be the Jags, but I'd absolutely take the spread. I think the Panthers are going to make it close. I don't think the Jags are going to win by 6.5.
It'll come down to a field goal somewhere.
Yeah,
I agree with you on that. Titans, Texans. Just don't know with CJ out.
Yeah, I think with CJ out, I think I would feel more confident taking the Titans. I think the Titans are better than their record. And I don't know. I think division football, Titans are playing better football than they should. They have a worse record than they should. I think things will start to even out a little bit, and I think the Texans are going to suffer from not having their starting quarterback in.
Fair enough. Rams, Giants. Give me the Rams on that one.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, and the spread's 5.5. Honestly, I think Rams win by at least 7 in that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too shocked by that either.
Cardinals, Eagles, battle of the bird shit. Eagles, especially since it'll be in Philadelphia.
It's going to be in Philly. Yeah,
I don't think that's going to be a particularly close one. Saints, Bucks. I'm going with Bucks. Let's do it. Baker Mayfield's taking us to the promised land, baby.
Yeah, I think honestly with the Bucks schedule, they might go 10-7, which is kind of insane.
Crazy, yeah.
Because I thought the Bucks were going to go like 6-11. So, yeah, I don't know. I think they're way better than the Saints. It's division football, so there's always some wacky things that could happen. Yeah. But I think the Bucks are a safer bet.
So
yeah,
cool. Let's see what's left. 49ers, commies. Commies are going to get stomped.
Yep.
I don't think that'll be. Woo! The spread is 13. And the sad thing is I think it might be worse than that.
Yeah, it might be a little too low, honestly.
Yeah. Steelers, Seahawks. Ooh, how are you feeling about that?
I hate that it's in Seattle. Pittsburgh always plays terribly on the West Coast. They play well in Arizona, but they don't play well in California or Washington. So I don't like them traveling all the way to the West Coast. I don't like that they have JSN in the slot either, because the Steelers middle line, we're on our 4th string middle linebacker. So that's going to be really bad for the middle of the field. I mean, I think it's going to be a time of possession game as long as Pittsburgh can get turnovers. I think we're going to be fine. If it's one of those things where Pittsburgh gets 2 to 3 turnovers, they win. If they can't get turnovers, they're going to lose.
Fair enough.
But that's just the formula they've been playing all year. If they get picks, if they get fumbles, they win those games. And if they don't get it, then they're just not going to be able to keep up.
Wow, it's almost like winning the turnover battle is important.
Yeah, but for the Steelers, it's their only winning formula. Like if they lose the turnover battle, it's over. Like they're dead in the water.
Bengals, Chiefs. and it's in Kansas City. So I think it's going to be the Chiefs. Patty's pissed. Nobody likes Patty.
Yeah, they need to bounce back. This is a good team to bounce back against.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs play the Bengals hard after the whole Burrowhead thing anyways, so they, I think they'll be more than happy to kick the shit out of the Bengals and
for sure
have them close their door in the playoff hopes.
Chargers Broncos, that's going to be an ugly game in Denver.
Yeah, even with Russ being benched, I don't really feel confident. Yeah, I don't feel confident in the Chargers pulling that one off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the Chargers do it just because Jarrett Stidham is really doesn't do anything at a professional level well, and at least Easton Stick can move the ball, Yeah. So we'll do it, but it's gonna be a terrible game. I mean, it's two backup quarterbacks playing each other. Both of them really shouldn't be starting. It'll be
both of them should be in the XFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in the European League of Football. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Last game on the docket, it looks like Packers Vikings. Is there no Monday? Oh, college playoffs.
Yeah, college playoffs.
Okay.
Yep.
I was about to say, why is there no Monday game? But that makes sense. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It's at Minnesota, so I'll take Minnesota. I think that it's one of those games where it's division football. Whoever's playing home, I think, has a better chance, and that's really all it is. To me, the Packers and the Vikings are pretty much the same exact team. They play in the same division. They're both 7-8.
Yeah.
Neither of them are really great in any areas. Minnesota has a really strong receiving core, but they're on a backup QB. Green Bay has a really decent QB, but doesn't have a receiving core. I mean, there's both their defenses are kind of ranked around the same area, I believe, too.
If you combine the teams together, that's a Super Bowl winner.
Dude, that team would be insane.
Oh man. Cool. That's all the games for this upcoming week. Now looking at the playoff picture, I have it pulled up. Those that have clinched playoff spots in the AFC, it's only the Ravens and Dolphins. In the NFC, 49ers, Eagles, Lions, and Cowboys have all clinched playoff spots. And the hunt in the AFC, Chiefs, Jags, Browns, Bills, Colts. On the bubble is Texans, Bengals, maybe Steelers. I'll let you have that one. And then for the NFC, on the bubble is Bucks, Rams, Seahawks, Vikings, Packers, and I guess the Saints.
You missed a couple that still actually have a chance. They got the Broncos.
Statistically.
they got the Raiders and the Broncos at 12% and 7% respectively, and then they have the Falcons at 11% and the Bears at less than 1%.
Brother, Broncos are not making the playoffs.
No, I don't think the Broncos and Bears are going to make it. I think they're done, but there's
Bears in the playoffs. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, that's what we're all rooting for.
I mean, again, I would buy a Justin Fields jersey if they made the playoffs. just to be annoying. Honestly, with the way that it's shaping out, I mean, let's see so if it were to end today, Chiefs would be 3rd, Jags would be 4th, Browns 5th, Bills 6th, Colts 7th. So if the Ravens have a bye, what does that mean? 2 versus 7, Colts, Dolphins. Then you would have Chiefs, Bills, Jags, Browns. Honestly, if I'm the Browns, I'd be okay with playing the Jags in that first round.
Yeah, that's a good matchup for them.
And honestly, if I'm the Bills,
I wouldn't feel too bad about playing the Chiefs. Yeah.
Yeah, truly. So I think the AFC playoffs will be a lot more fun than NFC. I feel like NFC, it's going to be 49ers are going to smack the absolute shit out of the Seahawks if it were to end today, and this is where everybody's at.
Mm-hmm.
I think Eagles Rams would be exciting, but I still think Eagles would edge it out.
Well, that wouldn't be Eagles Rams. It would be Eagles Seahawks, and it would be Lions Rams. So
you're so
Stafford
right.
returning back to Detroit.
Yeah, first round bye. My bad.
Yep.
Oh, that actually makes it more interesting. Okay.
It's an interesting game. And again, if the Bucks play up to their potential, could be kind of fun against the Cowboys. I think they would still lose, but I think there's a little bit more. I think if the Bucks and the Rams stay in, I think those are two teams that are interesting. And I think that 7 seed, who really cares? I mean, that 7 seed is just going to show up to get knocked out.
Yeah. Yeah, some good stuff on the horizon. I mean, for the most part, this is probably what the playoff picture is going to be. I don't foresee there being a whole lot of movements in these, just because we have 2 weeks left. So,
I think the AFC has a lot more movement than the NFC. I think
there's
we're
more
definitely going to
nuance
see.
in it, yeah.
I think we're definitely going to see the Browns and the Bills in, but I think that 7 seed. Really, I think Colts, Texans, Steelers, Raiders all have a shot at it.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at these records now. You're so right. Yeah, Steelers 8-7, Bengals 8-7, Texans 8-7, Colts 8-7.
Yeah, no, that last seed in the AFC is really interesting. I think there's a lot of things that'll go according. Again, I don't think it's going to be an AFC South team because I think all 3 of them are going to finish 9-8, and the Jags are going to take the division. So then I think that really leaves it down to Bengals, Steelers, Raiders. And I don't see the Bengals doing it just because they have Chiefs and the Browns, and that's going to be really tough for them.
Well, Raiders would have to rely on a lot of stuff going their way too. So I don't even necessarily. I mean, yes, statistically they're still there.
Well, I don't think the Raiders are that far off because if everybody finishes 9-8, the Raiders are the ones that get in. They're the ones that take that 7 seed, and so you're really just expecting teams to just lose one of their last 2.
Who do the Raiders play? They can play Indy next week.
Yeah. So, I mean, if the Raiders beat Indy, if they effectively knock Indy out,
they're still alive.
Yeah.
Alive.
And then they get to go play Denver at home, you know?
Is that their last game? Oh.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think the Raiders do have a realistic chance. I wouldn't bet on it. But
I don't gamble to begin with, so
yeah, exactly. Me either.
Not a problem.
So it doesn't matter. But I think that 7 seed's going to be interesting. I mean, and a bunch of the other teams go 10-7 and they're out. You know, it's not entirely locked in on that side. I think the NFC is a lot more safe with where it is. Besides that 7 seed, I think the Rams are just way better than a lot of those other 8-7 teams there, or 7-8 teams. And then I think the Bucks are the best of their division.
Yeah.
So it really just comes down to who's going to take 7. And really, you're pulling either the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Packers, or one of the NFC South teams. And who really cares at that point?
Fair. Yeah. Again, still wouldn't bet on it. But speaking of betting, I do have Vegas Insider pulled up to look at the MVP race. And I know we took a look at this earlier. For those of y'all who don't know, Joe Flacco is number 12 in MVP odds right now. So if
tied with TJ Watt.
Spicy, yes, tied with TJ Watt. So if you're feeling spicy about Joe Flacco winning the MVP, if you put down $100, you will win $25,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the top 5, Lamar, CMC, Josh Allen, Tua. I'm surprised after 4 interceptions that Brock still gets to be in the top 5. I think Tyreek should have leapfrogged him personally. Yeah. But besides that, I think that's about right. And then 6, 7, 8 is Tyreek, Dak, Jalen. I think for the most part, if you just look at body of work, this is right. I would still think that CMC should win it, but it's a quarterback award, so it's so hard to win it as a running back.
Yeah. I think let me go look at CMC stats right now. I think if he breaks a certain amount of, because that's what people were talking about with Tyreek Hill. If Tyreek Hill broke 2,000, he would probably get it. But I don't think Tyreek Hill's on pace to get 2,000 anymore.
No, not anymore. He's I think he's at like 1650-ish, somewhere in that range. So
let's see. Right now, CMC's at 1,400 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns. with, why are you not showing me the receiving?
63 receptions. That's all I have. It's not giving me the I was like,
I'm pretty sure he has a lot of receiving yards. So
yeah, it's CMC. Let's see. Come on, give me his receiving yards.
Yeah, I don't know why Pro Football Reference is not showing me what I need to see.
Yeah, ESPN's not helping your boy out either right now. I'm just gonna Google CMC receiving yards 2023.
Oh, here we go. I found it. He has 537 receiving with 7 touchdowns. So he's at 21 touchdowns on the year with about almost 2K combined. Yeah, all scrimmage yards. So, I mean, I think if he breaks that 2K route, I think if he breaks the 2K, which he probably will in 2 games, and if he gets somewhere close to 25 touchdowns, he probably does leapfrog Lamar.
I don't know. I just know that since it's such a quarterback heavy award, that I mean, at this point, as long as Lamar plays, up to just normal Lamar standard for the last 2 games, I just think it would be hard for him to be leapfrog. Now, if he does have a game where he throws like 3 picks or something like that, yeah, I definitely think CMC leapfrogs him then. But if he just plays clean football for the next 2 games, I think it would be hard for him to get leapfrogged.
No, I agree. I think it's most likely going to be Lamar's award, but I think if he plays 2 bad weeks of football, I don't know, could get interesting.
I mean, even if he plays 1 bad week of football at this point, because Brock went from 1 to 5 from just 1 bad week.
Yeah.
So.
No, I really don't think a quarterback should win it this year. I think if a quarterback should win it, it should absolutely be Lamar, just because he's having a really great season.
The most consistent season.
Yeah, the most consistent of all the quarterbacks. But I really don't think quarterback makes sense this year. There's just nobody who's really playing up to their potential. There's been a lot of injuries. Give it to CMC. The 49ers are probably going to have the best record in the NFL, just because there's a chance the Ravens could drop a game. And I think Niners have a pretty easy schedule the last 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, well. Cool. Any last remarks, my friend, before we close it out today?
No, I think we're good. I think we covered everything we needed to.
Cool. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been the Fourth Down Fiasco. Again, my name is Jordan. With me is Tanner Vinsky. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week with more scores, updates, stats, all the fun stuff.
Yep.
See ya.
Adios.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.